Welcome to another Social Emotional Learning and Wellness webinar. My name is Lori Lacombe from the Healthy Schools Department, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Team Up team. Let's start with you, Jamie.
And my name is Jamie Montoya-Smith. I'm the prevention coordinator, and I work with Team Up. And I have two fantastic colleagues today who are really our resident experts in the Sources of Strength program, Ann Resinagnor and Kimberly Moore. And without further ado, Ann and Kimberly.
Great, thank you, Jamie and Lori. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to learn more about Sources of Strength. Again, myself, Ann Resinagnor, and Kimberly Moore will be presenting today. We are two of the Douglas County School District Sources of Strength trainers. So Sources of Strength is a program originally intended as a peer-led suicide prevention program that has morphed into a wellness model focused on hope, help, strength, resilience, and connections. During this webinar, we're going to give you a brief overview of the basic understanding of the philosophy of the program, have you reflect on your own strengths, and provide some thinking on how you can use this model at home with your own students and your family as a way to incorporate balance, strength, and well-being into your lives.
We have three objectives for our webinar and time together with you. We hope that you will gain a basic understanding of sources of strength, discover your personal strengths, and learn how to activate them in your life, and that you will reflect on ways to support your child or student during life's ups and downs. We have this quote we'd like to share with you because we feel like it really speaks to sources of strength, especially when we talk about family support. Family isn't always blood. It's the people in life who want you in theirs, the ones who accept you for who you are, the ones who would do anything to see you smile, and who love you no matter what. You will hear us talk about connection and its importance to the program and overall as a strength. We know that sometimes those we consider family and are connected with are people not related to us, like our best friends, neighbors, mentors, or someone who has taken us under their wing. As we share with you what sources of strength is, what the strengths mean, and how it can be important in your life, we want you to know that whether you have a preschooler, elementary student, middle or high schooler, or even college-aged children, or if you need a framework for self-care for you, focusing on strengths can be a benefit to all. Sources of Strength was originally created as a suicide prevention program in the late 90s. It was built to focus on hope, help, and strength rather than on sad, shock, and trauma. It highlights the importance of youth voice and engagement. So in our schools, the program is really being led and shared by students within the building in collaboration with the adults. It is designed to build strong connections between youth and adults and amongst peers within a school or community network. The idea behind the program is that it harnesses social network theory. So this idea that good and positivity can spread through a network of people. The program is intended to spread positive messages of hope, help, and strength among the networks within our middle and high school communities. It also encourages help-seeking behaviors for oneself and to also encourage anyone to speak up when concerned about others. It promotes overall well-being and life balance. So over time, it has really transformed into a wellness model or a program for anyone to use.
The Sources of Strength is based on an upstream prevention model. So I want to share with you an upstream prevention story to give you an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about upstream prevention. So if you will, take a moment and think about a very small community, a very small village that is very steeped in tradition. And this very small village has people of all ages in it. They have little itty bitties, they have elders, and they have everybody in between. And they're all about community. They really look out and really take care of each other. This village is on the edge of a river. And the river is pretty rough waters where their village is because it's at the end of a waterfall. And again, since this village is really steeped on tradition, they do things the same all the time. And the kids have always went across the river to get to the school, which is on the other side. it's kind of a shortcut for the kids to take. So they've always gone across the river. So we know that as they're walking across, they go across the rocks, and since they're in the river, they're a little bit wet, they're kind of mossy, and some of the kids often fall in. So sometimes they come out with bumps and bruises, but they're always pulling each other out. They sometimes get across, they're all wet, but they're locking arms, they're making sure all of them get across. But again, when they get across, sometimes they have those bumps and bruises. So one day when one of the elders decides he's going fishing, as he always does, he decides, I'm going to go upstream a little farther to go fishing, just to see what's up there. As he goes a little farther upstream, he sees that, it's a little calmer waters up here. I think that what we need to do is really have our kids go across up here. So he goes back to the community and says, I know we're really steep in tradition, but I'm going to push your thinking a little bit. I think we need to really make sure our kids are safe, and we need them to cross up here a little farther. So the community all gets together. They do things like first aid, CPR training. They even build watchtowers. They make sure that the teachers on the other side have all this training as well. They gather their kids. The kids are locking arms. They're going across the river up a little bit farther where it's much calmer. And they get across a little bit safer. Some of the kids still fall in. They're still grabbing them by the arms, but they're pulling them out. But they have less bumps and bruises. They're a little safer when they get across the river. As they're doing this, the elder decides, I'm going to keep going up farther stream. And as he gets up farther stream, he sees that even more calm has been brought up on the river. There's more calm and it's safer. And he comes back to the community and says, we're doing great things. You're doing such great things for our community, for our kids. We're really keeping our kids safe, but we can do even more. So I'm telling you is that we need to really build a bridge, and it's not going to be any bridge. It's going to be a bridge with a really strong foundation. So whether it's all of our kids who are locking arms and going across together, or maybe it's that one kid who might be running a little bit late that day, all of our kids are going to get across that river safe. So they all get together and they build that bridge. They build that bridge with that strong foundation, with high walls. So all the kids are getting across together and safe. And so when we think about going upstream, building those bridges, building the bridges of connection, that's what we're talking about when we're thinking about prevention. When it's down river a little farther, where we're having like CPR, first aid, watchtowers, that's what we're talking about intervention. And when we're even farther down, where we're actually pulling kids out of the river, when they have those bumps and bruises, the cuts, we're pulling them out. That's postvention. So we want to be up farther upstream, where we are able to give them those connections, give them that resiliency, give them those tools to get across the river safe.
So as Anne mentioned, the waters are not always calm. So we want to talk about stress for a minute. Stress is a normal part of daily life for all of us, no matter what age. I'm going to assume that you all agree with that statement. If you were to think of the top 5 stressors in your life right now, what would they be? Think just for a minute. You probably listed some things such as work, maybe school at home, this pandemic that's happening right now, maybe finances, maybe your kids are stressing you out right now, or some other things that came to mind. We don't ask you this or have you make a list to stress you out, but to have you think about that stress is a part of our everyday, that it's not going away. So it's really important to think about how we might use our personal strengths to deal with it and manage how we react and let it affect us. So with that, we also want you to remember that our kids and students have their top stressors too. My own kids will tell me that they're stressed about friendships, schoolwork, getting embarrassed at school, fitting in, and always trying to do the right thing. So be sure to acknowledge the stressors that they may have and allow them to express their thoughts. This is a great conversation to have with your kids, to use as a check-in and to hear what they may be feeling. It can be an invitation to support them in their well-being and really help them figure out how to balance life. And you may just learn something about them that you didn't know.
We want you to think about those things in your life that bring you joy, that give you comfort, that help you when you're feeling calm. It might be those interests, hobbies, activities, people, places that you go. So on this great drawing that we have here, we have those things that really help us, give us joy. Might be going outside, those people around us, family, could be video games, friends. Some of my favorites like chocolate and pizza, of course. So I know if I were to draw all those things that lift me up, I would probably draw things like my family, my dogs, sunshine, getting outside, walking, things like that. Kimberly, what would you draw on your poster if you were to draw a poster?
Some things that come to mind for me that I really enjoy are puzzles. I just finished a really difficult one recently. I love skiing with my family, playing board games with my kids, love to take some hot bubble baths just to calm down and relax. And something else that we really enjoy doing is watching the sunset.
Those sound great. Now I want you all to think about, if you were to have a drawing, if you were to take the time to draw those things that give you comfort, what would be on your drawing? So I'm going to give you a family challenge. Make your own strengths posters. And those things that we're drawing are things that we call protective factors. So think about, what are those things that are those protective factors for you? Those things that lift you up, those things that make you feel good, those things that help you reduce stress. And ask your family to join in as well. So have them all join in. It could be on the same piece of paper. Everyone grab a corner of it and start drawing those things that lift us up. You might be surprised at those things that your family comes up with. And it's a great reminder of those things that really give us joy in our lives.
So this is the strength wheel, the focal point of sources as we talk about strength. These 8 categories that have become part of the strength wheel are the themes or protective factors that have been identified that help people get through life's up and downs, or when they are feeling overwhelmed. You will probably see many connections with what came to mind for you when you thought of what you might add to your own poster in that last activity. The wheel can be looked at or broken down into 3 sections as we have shown here. A focus on connections through family support, positive friends, and mentors. A focus on coping with healthy activities, generosity, and spirituality. And a focus on help seeking using medical access and mental health. We want to share a really quick overview of what each piece of the wheel means and stands for relating to strengths.
When we think of family support, just like we mentioned before, family can look a lot of different ways. Maybe we have a traditional family, or maybe our family is what we think about our best friend's family for giving us that support. But we know that there's always someone in our lives who we think of as family that we can always go to when times get a little tricky. When we think of positive friends, we probably all have that negative friend in our lives. So we want to make sure that instead we're surrounding ourselves with those positive friends that can lift us up and support us, and that we can trust to go to when we just need that help or that support. For mentors, usually a mentor or a trusted adult is someone who is maybe older than us or maybe has more experience than us. It's incredibly protective for us and our youth to have that mentor in our lives, that person to be able to go to and talk with.
Healthy activities are the interests, hobbies, and activities that you enjoy. Maybe you enjoy doing them alone or with others. These are the things that help you step away from what's happening in the moment, reduce your stress, and give you a chance to kind of reset. Generosity is the act of giving of your time and effort to help others. And in turn, it fills our cup and lets us feel good about what we have given of ourselves. And then spirituality is really about that root word, spirit. What lifts our spirit? What helps us find peace and relaxation in our day-to-day?
Looking at medical access and mental health, they really kind of go together. So when you think about medical access, if you're out walking with your friends or maybe a family member and someone fell and maybe broke their arm, You probably wouldn't tell them, hey, you're fine, rub some dirt on it, let's just keep going. Instead, you would probably get them the medical help that they need as soon as possible. You wouldn't let them suffer in that pain any longer than they needed to. When we're thinking about mental health, it's really no different. If we have that friend or family member that is feeling down, maybe one day or a couple days, or maybe it's longer than that, we're not going to let them suffer in that pain any longer than they need to. We want to make sure that we're connecting them with someone who can help them. Maybe it's just a quick check-in with family or a mentor, but it might be something bigger than that, where we want to make sure we're connecting them with a counselor who can really help them. We want to make sure we have all these different pieces in our life to help bring balance in our lives. And keep in mind that our strength wheel can be fluid. One day we might feel really strong in one area, where the next day we're not so strong there. But we want to make sure, again, we have all these pieces around us to help support us.
Another way to think about the wheel is as a safety net. So imagine if you were walking a tightrope or flying on the trapeze, and this net below needed to catch you if you fell. You would want it to be pretty solid or secure. You would want the net tied or tethered in many spots or in all places to ensure that you don't hit the ground. If it's not secure, then you could get hurt or suffer unnecessary consequences. This is the same idea with the strength wheel. We want to have it strong in many places with the idea that we have a lot of strengths in our lives so that we can be resilient and bounce back when life gets tricky or challenging.
We often talk about what we call the big three emotions: anger, anxiety, and depression. Or maybe it might be a combination of all those. Knowing how to handle your emotions and what strengths to go to is really important. Kimberly, what would you say is maybe your big emotion and something that you go to help you when you have that emotion going on?
So I tend to deal with anxiety the most. The thoughts or concerns or issues that are going on are like replaying over and over again in my mind. And I know that a couple of things that help me during this time is phoning a friend or cleaning. As weird as that sounds, I like to take control and get my cleaning done. And I oftentimes do the cleaning while I'm talking on the phone to my friend at the same time.
Doesn't sound weird at all. I would support you in that. Thank you for sharing that. So think about those two pieces of the strength wheel that you feel really strong in. And one piece that you might pick for yourself that you feel like maybe you can grow in or become stronger in. So for myself, I feel really strong right now in family support and spirituality. I feel like I've been having a lot more family check-ins where we really have some stronger conversations. As well as with spirituality, I'm really taking that time for myself and allowing myself to have that time to really have that time where I can build my, lift my spirit when I need to. That piece where I feel like I can strengthen, I would probably say healthy activities. Although with the weather getting nicer, it's a really good time for me to be able to get outside, just kind of do more outside, those healthy activities I like to do. So for yourself, think about those things that you might feel strong in and want to strengthen for yourself.
Right now, we want to share some resources with you. First, we've listed the Sources of Strength website. They have a lot of great resources, and we encourage you to go there if you want to learn more about this program. The next three that we've listed here, the Strength Wheel, Conversation Starters, and Gratitude Challenge, we're going to go over with you in the next few slides. We're hoping that these resources will be simple for you to use, fun for your family, to connect with your kids, and to allow you to focus on strength-based conversations at home. So this is the strength wheel that we have turned into a blank wheel to be used as a tool that anyone can use to reflect on their strengths. So each of your family members could go through and fill this in. Everybody has their own separate blank wheel, and then you could hang it up nearby as a reminder of those strengths that you have to turn to. We will quickly walk through how we would fill in the different pieces of our strength wheels, starting with family support and going around clockwise. So when I think of family support, somebody that comes to mind is one of my very best friends who's been a friend of mine for 35 years. As we mentioned in the quote in the beginning of the webinar, she's not blood related, but she's definitely that person that if I need an ear, someone just to listen, if I need some really good advice or I need a good laugh, she's that person that I phone and connect with. When I look at positive friends, I have several positive friends in my life, but I really like to think about those characteristics and attributes that I appreciate about my positive friends. I appreciate when they're honest. I like being around people that are fun and outgoing. I definitely like my friends to be kind and compassionate, and friends that have like that give and take, that it's a two-way street, that we both work on the friendship equally and support each other.
I would write in for mentors, someone who I have worked with in the past, who has really helped me with the job that we were working at the time, but is also someone who is still there for me and someone who I can really just talk to about when things come up, and also that person who really kind of keeps me in line. So if it's, it doesn't even have to be work related, it could be anything, but this person is just always there for me to just talk to and kind of get that advice from. For healthy activities, I would write down walking or hiking. I love being outside, and when things get just a little bit overwhelming for me, that is what I turn to get outside, take a walk, gather my family around, and go take a hike.
For generosity, I would put in there the volunteer work that my kids and I do for the homeless. We help create toiletry kits to give out, and then we go down to the Volunteers of America in Denver and actually hand those out, along with serving lunch different times when there's opportunities to do that.
For spirituality, I've recently taken up crocheting, which is something that I can do, that when I think about that root spirit, what can I do to kind of lift my spirit? And that's something that I can just sit and do. I don't have to talk to anybody, and I can just kind of be alone and do that. There's other things I also enjoy doing, like mindfulness, listening to music. So it really kind of depends on the day. So in that piece of the wheel, I would write down a couple items.
For medical access, I also think of this as physical health. So something I make sure and do is do my well visits for myself and for my kids to make sure that we're in balance and we've got really good medical care. And I also have a goal for myself to go to the gym 3 times a week to keep myself healthy. And I'm fortunate right now that my gym has gone online and provided all of the workouts continuing every day, even through this stay-at-home order, so I can stay healthy.
For mental health, I think it's important for us to know when to get help and where we can get help. So for me, I know that there's others as far as in my family, friends who I can call on if I need to talk with them. But if it's bigger than that, I know who I can call as far as a counselor. Just like if I need to go in for a well visit, I can also go to somebody for a help for my brain health as well. So these next 3 slides are really about those conversation starters that we talked about earlier in our resource page. So when we're talking about family, I want you really to think about having those real conversations. Talk to your students, listen to them. They really want to be heard. They want to share. Ask your student, what is one thing you wish others knew about you? And parents, you should also share your answer of this question with them. It could really open up those lines of communication. When we're thinking about friends and with our students, status is more important than ever for teens. Our teens really need to be connected to others in person and have those face-to-face interactions. Teens also need to have that one adult, or what we might call an anchor, to talk with, to ask, how can I help? To be there to listen to them. Think about how you can be that mentor for a teen in your life.
For healthy activities, thinking about your family, an invitation to play a game, go for a hike, or take a walk is an invitation to connect. It is important to take this time for ourselves and also to connect with them. Be genuinely intentional about including your children in some of the activities that you do. Generosity, when we focus on generosity and gratitude, it builds our own resilience. As a parent, how are you modeling generosity? What could you be doing as a family for generosity? It may be fun for you to come up with ideas together as a family about how you can get involved with volunteering or charity work. And for spirituality, this is the idea of that check your tank. You need to keep your emotional tank in balance. How do you refill when life gets overwhelming? Practicing mindfulness or thankfulness is a good habit to work on as a family. You may want to work together as a family and come up with relaxation toolkits that can be a great resource for everyone.
Think about your physical health. Are you and your kids getting the right foods and adequate sleep? As humans, we should be dedicating 42% of our day to rest, which can be sleep, resting, watching a movie, and downtime for hobbies. Sometimes we hear from kids and adults that they constantly have to be doing and going. But in reality, we really need to be taking that downtime for ourselves as well. Thinking about mental health, many behaviors signal vulnerability. A response to stress is not a purposeful misbehavior. It's a response to the stressful event. So how are you responding? Are you checking in with your student? Remember that just as we would take our kids for their well visits, we want to make sure we're taking our kids in if they need that brain health as well.
So the last resource that we mentioned was the gratitude challenge, which is quite simple. In this moment right now, we ask that you think about 3 things that you're grateful for in your life. You can make this simple practice a part of your daily practice, doing it at the table with your family. I know my kids love to do this every night at the dinner table. We know that practicing gratitude, if we do it for 21 days in a row, can reframe kind of the way that we think. Our brain will begin to scan the environment around us and really focus on the positive. So like I said, it's so simple and everyone can get involved.
So are you walking the walk as a parent? Make sure you're setting a good example. Look for the positives in each day. Focus on stories of strength rather than stories of trauma. Share what you're thankful for. If we're setting a positive example, our kids will follow. Kids really see and hear everything that we do.
The last thing that we want to share with you today is just a little background about sources of strength in our school district. The program has been active in our district for many years. We have schools that are going into years 6, 7, or 8 of implementation, and we have schools that are planning to start the program this coming school year. Right now we have 15 schools that are sources schools. Those we have listed here for you. We know that using this program allows our schools to have a common language focused on hope, help, strength, resilience, and connection, as well as a positive way to focus on prevention, mental well-being, and overall wellness. So if you or your child want to learn more about the program at your child's school, or how to get involved, or how to get it started at your school, we ask that you reach out to your schools or your child's school's counseling department, or feel free to contact us. Our contact information is included on the next slide for you. So we thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and learn about sources of strength. And please do let us know if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more. Thank you.